How much work is David Hewlett to work with?
Yeah, there's a "life's too short" banner above his head. No, he's great. He's great. David and I have a really nice. He's lovely. I really love him. And there's a nice shorthand when you work with an actor that you're so instantly comfortable with. There's a really nice shorthand where sometimes it's just a look, or it's, hey, you know that? Yeah, okay. You knew that, good. You know that we want to do it again. Okay. Yes. And okay. And then the scene's completely different. You don't have, because there's that shorthand. And that's literally sometimes how the conversations with David go. And it happens when you see, there's just a cool, quick connection. And sometimes it's something else that's happened, and I can just look over at David and he'll be like, okay. So, but you should, no, okay, yeah. So, yeah. There's Michael, and when he came back to Sanctuary, it was like, you know that, yeah. So I'll do, okay. Yeah. And our director, who hadn't directed Michael and I together before, was like, what did you just say? It's okay, we just speak a different language. Yeah, it's like twins or something. Hi.
You went from a series where you were involved from the begin with in the SG1, and then you then came into Atlantis once it was quite well established. So how was it different starting out from the beginning with the crew opposed to just jumping over?
It was really hard, to be honest with you. Even though we were next door neighbors, Atlantis and SG1, and we all knew each other and we hung out and we all shared the same big lot. When you're filming your television series, you're not crossing into each other's stages very often. I mean, it's very respectful, right? Even though there's like 2 doors between us. So I knew a lot of the crew because they had been SG1 crew who helped to get Atlantis started, and I knew a lot of the people from other shows in the city. But going there, I mean, first of all, I was excited about the prospect of Carter becoming a commander of and having that kind of position. I was excited for the character, but I also felt like I was sort of coming and playing in somebody else's house, and then that it wasn't my house, and it was really hard to leave home. It was like going, I think I've used this analogy before, but it was like leaving your house when you go to college, and like you move to another city and you live with your aunt and uncle while you go to college. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like, Mom, Dad, yeah, oh, I love you guys too, okay, bye. Oh, cool city, oh, wow, hey, aunt and uncle. Oh, guest bedroom, sounds great. And you never feel like it's your home, That's a dumb analogy. Something better. But it makes sense. So I always felt like I was a guest in somebody else's house. I never quite knew which way to turn to find the bathroom. It's awkward.
Well, which one did you like better, SG1 or Atlantis?
Well, SG1, I have to say personally, because that was my home. I mean, and like what was said, I started there. And I helped to create, I helped to formulate that character. She was created for me, and she was so great. But a lot of what we did, Michael and Christopher and I, through the course of time, informed who those characters were. So I just felt like she was really me and the team, and it felt so personal, and it was home. And it was a decade. And I loved my cast, and I loved our crew, and I loved our control room, even though, the carpet needed replacing, and it was a bit dusty, but I just loved walking onto that set. And we all did. And so Atlantis, which I think is a stunning space to play in, it's so beautiful, but it wasn't my space. You know what I mean? So SG1, yeah, for sure.
How did Atlantis come about? Did you get offered to be the commander, or did you go?
No. They came up to me. Joe and Paul came up to me. I think we knew that Stargate SG1 was not going to come back for an 11th season. And they sat me down and said, look, we would like you to move over to Atlantis. And I said, oh, no, it's been good. Thanks, but yeah. And then they explained what their situation was, and they said, it's a great chance for this character. It's a whole new Sam Carter because she's in command. And I went home and I talked to my husband about it. I thought long and hard, because I was like, 10 years with a franchise is a long time. It's been a great gift. We're making the movies now, which is fantastic, and it's fun. And I don't know, is Atlantis the right move? Will the fans hate it? I had a lot of queries about it. But knowing that David was over there, and then they brought Jewel, and I mean, it's a great cast, Jason and Joe, and so I was like, I know all these guys, and they're great. And the commitment actually was not, I wasn't shooting 7 days a week. I think I had 3 or 4 days per episode, and I was shooting 14 episodes. So as a new mom, it was great. I was like, great, I'll take Liv to preschool, and I'll have time to be a mommy. Because for the first 18 months of my daughter's life, she was on the Stargate set. So, which is great, fun and cool, but, it was time to take her to the park and not to the, puddle jumper. So, there was a lot of variables, but anyway, in the end, they convinced me, and I'm very glad I did. It was a good contract, it was a great gig, and I really enjoyed the show.
Was it always for just 1 year?
No. Yeah, there's the rub. So they didn't know how long Atlantis was going to go at that point. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of doing series television, is every year you sort of. So season 5 came up, and they offered me a contract that was really great. And I, at that point, had done the test scenes for Sanctuary. And had we done the webisodes? We'd done the webisodes at that point. And we didn't have a television deal. All I knew was that the company that made the webisodes, i.e. our company, had run out of money. But we were getting interest. Sci-Fi had contacted us, ITV in Britain had contacted us, CTV, other networks around the world were sort of putting feelers out about whether it could be a TV show. So I had a real, and this is where Helen Magnus's leap of faith line has never been more true, but if I had said yes to going back to Atlantis, Sanctuary would never have happened. But instead, I took this tremendous leap of faith and said, I'm going to put all my eggs in the Sanctuary basket and hope and pray that it gets picked up. And if it doesn't, then, dope. But I felt really good about it. And I also felt like there was an entire crew and cast of people sort of going, let's see if we get the TV order, let's see. And if I had said, yeah, except I won't be there. And part of the TV order for Sci-Fi was contingent that I be on the show because, I'm a recognizable, I guess, face for them on the network. Because I did this show for 10 years called Stargate, SG1. Anyway, you might have heard of it, I don't know. So anyway, it was a huge leap. But I finally phoned the producers of Stargate, bawling, tears streaming down my face, and said, I've made this decision. And I have to make it for me, I have to make it for my Sanctuary family, I have to, it's time. And there was a lot of support, there was a lot of anger at first, there was a little bit of you're making a huge mistake and your career's over, and then that was completely rescinded where they were like, we're really proud of you. Once Sanctuary started up, they all called, so proud of you, good for you, sweetheart, this is great. And so, I mean, it was really nice. It's really nice, but and then that's when lovely Robert Picardo came into Atlantis. So yeah, leap of faith. Yeah. Oh, who hasn't asked anyone? You haven't asked one yet. Sorry, guys.
Do you keep in touch with your cast, SG1 cast
Yeah.
members? Or you just meet like in conventions?
No, we keep in touch. I actually haven't seen Chris in a while. I see Michael at least 2 or 3 times a week. But our kids go to the same school, and so we see each other at drop-off, and then we'll go for coffee, and our kids take a couple of classes together, and so we sit and watch our kids do Taekwondo. And we go for coffee or lunch. Yeah, we try to. In fact, just before I left, he's like, okay, when you get back, we'll go, yeah. So, he's like a brother. So, and we live very close to each other, so it's really nice. And Richard is hard to get a hold of. But when you do, Richard will send like emails for like 3 weeks, like goofy emails, joke emails, hey babe, I miss you emails, and texts, and it's all great, and then you don't hear from him for like 3 months. You're like, yo, hello. And then, oh yeah, hey, how have you? Yeah. So it's all good. It's really, I mean, you don't see each other as much as you'd like because 10 years together shooting 16-hour days, 5 days a week is a lot of time to spend with people, and then you go through massive withdrawal, and then you have to find out what that relationship is outside of doing the show, which is also a nice discovery. So it's good. Yeah.
Hi. Have you ever found that your class is SG1 interfering with, say, your life with your kids out in public?
No. Yes, but no, not really. It has happened. But I live in Canada. I live in Vancouver, which is a very different mindset than the sort of paparazzi of Los Angeles. Plus, I'm not like, I'm not on a network television show, so people are usually really like, did they go to high school together? And occasionally, often, because Olivia and I do the family grocery shopping together, and people will come up, but they're so sweet. Just like, I really loved SG1. Great job, thanks for all the entertainment. And, or now with Sanctuary, I'm getting recognized. It was in New York I got recognized, which was crazy. But Olivia, at first, didn't get it. And now she's like, Mom's on TV. I'm not allowed to watch the show, but my mom's on TV. Yeah, it's very respectful. I've never had, I've only had a couple of problems where it's been not so respectful. No.
When would you let her watch?
When she's 30. I would say, she's a very smart kid and she's very articulate and she understands sort of she makes interesting connections between things. But I don't want her getting nightmares. She's also a really sensitive little girl and she has a huge imagination. So I would think, maybe by the time she's in her teens, early teens, I'll just have to see how she matures. Right now, she could probably write a Sanctuary episode, but in her teens, I think. She's so innocent. She hasn't seen a lot of violence. Except what's in Disney movies. She hasn't, which is probably more violent than anything. But she's just got a really innocent view of the world, and she hasn't. I think that it might be too much. The guns and the punching and the mummy kicking ass. Maybe she should.
Do you think if you stayed on the Atlanta show any longer, it might have lasted longer?
Oh wow! I would never. Probably. I'm totally kidding. No, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know whether it had run its course or whether the producers were trying to move on with Universe. I'm not sure. I don't know. My ship has arrived. You've been a great audience. Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah. How cool would it be if I just got beamed out of here? What a great way to end a panel. See you guys. But okay, if you all close your eyes and pretend you're seeing like. Hi.
If no one would pay you to act, what would you be doing?
You're not an actor.
I have a very strong interest in medicine, and I always have, and environmental sciences. But I kind of have this vision of this alternate life where I work for Doctors Without Borders, which I think would be cool. And then I have this other alternate life where I run a little coffee shop in a little town, and I make like really good muffins and stuff. But honestly, I have no idea. I'd be clueless.
What did you want to do in high school? Did you always want to be an
Yeah,
actor?
I always wanted to be an actor.
Do you have a fallback idea? Like, if it
Yeah, Doctors Without Borders! I won the science award in high school, and I knew that I found I loved it, but my passion, what really got my heart racing, and sort of the thrill of the hunt was acting. And so how fantastic that, my first real major television gig was playing a scientist. It fed every part of me creatively.
So wasn't it too hard to learn the terminology?
No, not at all. I dug it. I loved doing the research. And I loved figuring out in layman's terms what I was saying meant, which is how I learned it. So I would learn it, and then I'd see and then poor Alan, my long-suffering husband, I would say, okay, this is what I'm explaining tomorrow. And I would say the technical words, and he'd be like, blank, blank, blank. Yeah, like a stockier version of Jack O'Neill, so cute. And then I would say, okay, but this is what it means, and I would explain it in layman's terms, and he'd go, oh, okay, cool, yeah. And then I go back to the technical, and he'd be like, blink, blink. But that's how I learned it. Yeah, I think I have a bent towards science and a bent towards that way of thinking. Or maybe I'm just bent. I'm not sure.
In her years of seclusion, do you think that Helen went back to see Ashley again? Because it was quite painful when she died. And do you think she missed her a lot and went back to see her?
She stalked her.
No, here's an interesting thing, and it's a great question, and this was a massive debate in the writers' room. If you could go back 113 years in history and change anything, would you, should you, morally, could you? So I'm going back in time and essentially saying to Adam Worth, you can't save your daughter. And it's not the saving of his daughter that's the problem, because the butterfly effect is such that 113 years out, maybe not so huge an issue. I mean, if we were going back to the cave dwellers, then yeah, saving one person might have made a difference. But it was more that he had the power. It was more about stopping Adam and saying, you've got all this technology from the future, you could literally change the face of history. And if you save Imogen and go skipping off into the sunset, as it were, then what are the ramifications? So she shuts it down completely. The idea was that nothing could change. Because, of course, as somebody who's lived through history, like Helen has, you would want to stop every major, horrible, historical event that had ever happened. You'd want to be able to pull the baby from the burning school building while no one was watching, but you can't. And you can't stop the Holocaust, and you can't stop the dictators that have come through. And so it was this huge, because there are times when I was just like, let me go back to just for like a day, and I will. But we had this huge debate. So Ashley, just the same as Imogen, Helen could not change a thing. Plus, she couldn't interfere with her own timeline. And in order to do that, she would have to jump into her own timeline, right? But she finds a clever way to weave what she needs throughout her timeline to get to the final scene, the final episode of season 4. So at this point, throughout the season, you don't see that anything has changed. And I'm very hopeful for a season 5 because I think there's a lot of things that we could little things that we could change.
There is an arc that has been conceptualized there.
There's what? There's an arc
that you've actually
Yes.
concept outlined for.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about it. Yeah, and it's also, because in the final scene of the final throughout the final episode of season 4, when you start to realize, when it starts to come unraveled and Will starts to figure out what Magnus has been up to, it opens up for huge potential for season 5. I've said too much.
Just going back to musicals though. Magnus play the guitar.
Does Magnus play the guitar? No, I think she plays the lute.
Yeah.
I don't know that Magnus has time to play a musical instrument. I wish she would, because I think she could really use that child. I play guitar to just chill out, right? Yeah, never gonna happen. I know I will. I'll learn something. I swear.
I'll join you on my ukulele.
Okay, perfect. I think if anything, Magnus would play the piano, more traditional, or I don't even want to say it, the harp. It's a beautiful instrument. But I think the piano, if anything, that's what Magnus would play. Yeah. And the trombone. And the bazooka. No, what's it called? Bassoon. Yeah, no. She'd play the piano and the cello. And the violin. And the stop.
Are you dancing down those long corridors?
No. I'm sorry to tell you there is no dancing.
Is that
It's-
behind the scenes though?
Behind the scenes, there's always dancing. There's always dancing. I mean, we're the silliest cast I've ever met. Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of dancing, but no, not in the musical. There might be some running to music, but no dancing. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, baby.
On Stargate, when you got to play like big or like evil, did you enjoy that? Because it was kind of something different.
Oh yeah. I loved playing evil side. I loved the replicator, we call it. That one. Yeah. Oh yeah. And my stand-in at the time, Sherry Noel, and I had this thing where we'd be like, replicator! And we used to walk around the set doing that. So whenever I'd put on that, she'd be like, replicator! There's different, slightly different way of carrying herself. There's a different set of the jaw. was a different, like instead of focusing straight forward, it was a little bit up. And I just like trying to find like a really subtle physical nuance, but keep it simple so that it's, and I loved it. I also loved that she was unapologetically, you know, evil and kick-ass, but that there was just a different set to her that I just found her. Ish. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think anytime you get to play a character where you get to do an alternate version, I mean, I loved her just as much as I loved doing the goofy version of her in Mobius that Michael and I did. Was that the name of the episode, Mobius, where we were like dorks? And I loved it. I mean, Michael and I had such a good laugh. It was really fun. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything you got from any of your TV series that, you know, you thought, oh, that was awesome, I got that? Like, you know, uniform or...
Well, I have my original SG-1 jacket, and that's really special. What else did I don't think I took anything else, besides a couple of P90s, but no, I have the original jacket. I didn't take anything else. And,
Action figures?
oh, the action figures are hilarious. Yeah.
Does Olivia play with them?
Yeah. But she doesn't make the, like, she sees the picture on the box, and then looks at the action figure, and she's like, I'm like, that's Mummy. Yeah, she's still, you know, she's still more into her Barbies and Ken. You know, there's got to be balance. Hi. Look, everyone. It's Bill and Amanda.
At any point where, like, there's the alternative thing with, like, tons of the Carters coming through, did you laugh at yourself when you kept...
Oh, yeah. That was fun. And there, I mean, I think we did one scene where there was, like, you know, 15 of us. And it was shot when the technology is not nearly as advanced as it is now. So it's very interesting because I had to, like, shoot each version of it and literally run, and, like, they just lock the camera off. And it was on this pattern of movement, and then I'd run and change and come back and pattern of movement. And whereas now, I mean, we'd CG it so much differently. But it was fun. It's fun just to find the little quirky differences. You know. One of them was flat-footed. I know, right? It's subtle, but it makes a difference. Hi, Bill.
Hey. I said it before, every time I bring people in, they're like, yeah, and every time I walk in, they're like,
I get that automatically because I'm Australian.
There you go, but you're not quite Kupu, born here and taken there.
well, if I can have a huge round of applause. Are we doing some stuff with your books, or we can just do that tomorrow?
Oh, if people are willing to wait in the autograph line, that's great. If anyone would like to buy one now, then come on up. But I no pressure. It's just a little thing, you know.